understanding of the deen. Several people tried to speak to him. I myself tried to speak to him, for which, of course, he turned against me. Everybody else turned against me, and as usual, I was the bad guy. But this wasn't the only problem. I was forced to socialize with people that I could not have the heart to even speak to. People who didn't know the first thing about Islam. People who considered themselves ethnic group blank before Muslim. And my Muslim friends were condemned. And they accused my friends who brought me closer to Islam, closer to Allah, of putting ideas into my head, and eventually my contact with them was being diminished. My parents will now make it a point to attend every blank ethnic group conference every year. My father mentioned that often going to an Islamic conference is too far away, yet he is willing to go to any extent to attend a cultural one. I am not too proud to say this, and I know this fact in my heart, that I love my brothers and sisters in Islam who bring me closer to Allah, bring me closer to His deen, than I love my own family. My parents only believe in doing the obligations, in keeping from what is prohibited, and I disagree with her with that. That I disagree with. I understand what she means, but I disagree. But to go beyond that is as if I am going to extremes. But I have a hard time believing that a person is religious if they do not accept Islam as the only way of life. Unfortunately, my parents tried to force culture down my throat, a culture that I could never come to love or be a part of. The reason I mention this is this. My parents insist that I marry a blank ethnic group man. And they make this a prerequisite over everything else. Over everything else. And seeing the people that my parents want me to be around, the blank ethnic culture that they want me to be close to, and then telling me not to wear hijab, not to look too religious, and not to show off. Is doing your duty to Allah showing off? I just don't trust my parents' choice anymore, my brother. The dilemma I face involves if a brother of good deen and character comes to ask for my hand in marriage, my parents will refuse him just because he's not blank. Not only that, but they will refuse him because they want me to study instead. I might also add that I have been prohibited from wearing jilbab. My parents saying that it is not necessary, and I might get attacked by the Muslim haters. But subhanallah, Allah knows my heart. I cannot live with myself knowing Allah has made this covering obligatory upon me, and so I sneak the jilbab in my backpack whenever I go to the university, and I put it on after I get out of the car. At one point, an argument with my father had gotten so bad, I almost got my jilbab taken away from me, and I was told to wear nothing but jeans and trousers now. Even if I do not wear jilbab, I try to wear long skirts and long blouses and a long hijab that reaches to my knees to compensate. And my parents still do not approve of this, saying I need to look more blank, and I need to stop trying to look like the blank. Because if I would, see, I had to be careful not to mention the other group, because then you'll know who the first group is. Nevertheless, I cover myself properly as much as I can, alhamdulillah. But at the same time, though, I do not listen to these things. I face the risk of my father's anger and his blows. Additionally, I got my Islamic books, my Islamic materials taken away, saying I spend too much time studying, or saying I must spend more time studying rather than learning about Islam. I agree in that sense that I need to have a balance, and I concentrate on my studies when I find time. I sit down to learn my deen as much as I can. But even then, I would get protests from my mother and my father that I shouldn't read about Islam so much. The Islamic material that I received by email, my father requested that I get off the list because it was too much, and yet subscribing to a blank ethnic youth mailing list was absolutely no problem for him, where I would receive on a regular basis from the blank ethnic email list letters from boys and girls talking about how at the next ethnic group convention there should be a hot tub. But this is not the only problem. Recently, a scholar from Azhar University, this one I'm not going to leave blank. Recently, a scholar from Egypt named Mahmoud Suleiman, I have to say this, came here and assumed the position of the imam. And now you're going to find out what city she's in, because I just mentioned where Mahmoud Suleiman is. At first, I did not know much about his aqeedah or if he was upon the correct minhaj. And I would often consult him for the advice on a number of matters, including marriage. He told me that if a brother proposes to me, I should inform him about it. And he will speak to the brother, after which, if he is satisfied, he will speak to my parents. If the sheikh is satisfied, he'll speak to my father and mother. However, subhanallah, just recently I was present at a lecture that he was giving at the masjid, where he was relating fabricated hadith about the high station of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Relating hadith such as the one where Adam mentioned Muhammad's name after he sinned to Allah. Additionally, he related a dua that he wrote down for my family that we can recite if we're in need of something. And the nature of this dua is such that you can pray to Allah for anything you want through Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. She said, subhanallah. I heard of this and my heart just wanted to jump out of my chest. This is the sort of thing that the Sufis believe. And I was familiar with it. And I knew that it was wrong. And after I informed my brother about it, he became angry, called me arrogant for rejecting something a scholar was saying when he was more knowledgeable than I was, who had studied Islam all of his life. Wallahi, Brother Daawood, I was heartbroken by this reaction. And even I thought I was wrong. But I was very uneasy about this dua, which was hung on the refrigerator, and my family was trying to memorize it. After I voiced this concern to my parents, the whole family joined in to refute me and added on to the support of this fabricated hadith, which I knew was only earning Allah's anger. Once again, they felt I was getting ideas in my head that I was crazy. I was being arrogant, and basically I was wrong. I was not listened to, and if I showed them proof, they doubted it and turned away from it. The reason I mention this is also because if a brother who is of the correct minhaj and the correct aqeedah were to approach that imam, that sheikh, for marriage to me, that imam would also reject him, and Allah knows better. My brother in Islam, now the situation is such that I am desperate to marry.